They love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I say to all the young children to continue to love Ramadan, live as good Muslims, and be proud of what you are doing. Because we love you, and that's why we remind you of these things. And next week, make sure you bring a friend. Next week, make sure you bring a friend, inshallah. And that is the end of the halaqah today. Now, if you have a question or anything, then inshallah I will try to answer them. Yes.
My son is diabetic.
Yes. Yes.
So I think we have night cloudy and sleep with no. In the morning he becomes cold.
Okay, so he's taking insulin at iftar time and at suhoor time.
And we have only this case at night one cloudy and the morning has to be together.
Okay, now you should check with the physician because if the sugar level starts going under 4, then it is getting to the danger zone. Under 3, it's dangerous, and there may be coma. And we don't want that to happen. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala twice in Al-Quran, one ayah and the next ayah, وَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminded us, that whosoever is ill or embarking on a journey, then it is from days later. So it is not something that Allah wants to say, even though I'm diabetic, or I'm a person that has kidney problems, or I'm going to fast because I want to be more righteous. No, this is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. He says, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah wants ease for you. He does not intend to impose hardship on you. And see, I know my father-in-law, for the first time in his life, he's 90 years old, he could not fast because he's taking medication that he could not stop. And, he had tears in his eyes. He continues to say, I miss it, I don't know what I said, don't worry. Even by giving kafara, you are fasting. You are fasting. Fasting, again, I remind ourselves, is not to stop eating and drinking. This is not fasting. This is the majority vehicle for the majority of us. But some people fast by their behavior. They give kafara. They are fasting. They are fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not interested in making us hungry. This is not the purpose. He is saying, by you feeling hungry, it will be conducive for your nafs to start to feel that it is now being nourished. This is how they work. Our nafs and our physical structure, they compete with each other. That's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them. So when our body is put aside for some time during the day, our nafs now grows. That's how it is. That's how it is. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is what you should. Now, if somebody cannot stop eating and drinking, give kafara, and that person is fasting. Fast by behavior, fast by helping others, fast by, fast by inviting somebody. And why kafara is feeding a needy person? Why? Why is this the expiation, the kafara? Why is it? Because when you cannot fast yourself by abstaining from eating and drinking, you are feeling that you are helping someone who does not have the means to break fast with the same kind of food that you eat. So you help that, you give that person something to eat to break their fast. Any other question?
So what's the traveling distance?
81 kilometers, 49 miles. Yes. Now, the scholars, the majority said, if you are able to fast, then fast during safar, during traveling. But if it is going to impose hardship on you, Then Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, ليس البر الصيام ليس من البر الصيام في السفر. It is not a form of goodness to fast during traveling. And he meant traveling in the terms of those days. You know, traveling where, you know, it is extremely hot, it is long, you know, that's, but if you can endure it, nothing wrong if you fast. Yes? Do the angels fast? I don't know. I don't know. It's a very beautiful question. I'll find out, inshallah. That's a beautiful question. Okay.
ممكن تصوم عن father-in-law or uncle كان مريض بعد توفى الإسلام تصوم عن البلد.
Okay. Now, can you fast on behalf of someone who died, owing certain days of fasting that he or she should have fasted? Now, there is a hadith about that, and there's a hadith about Hajj, and both are not at the level of being sahih. So I am very reluctant to say that it is a practice you could do because you know, you never know whether you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give the reward for the person who did not fast because of you doing it. Those who said that you could are saying it is that connection between, let's say, the son and the father, the daughter and the mother, the daughter and, you know, the father. It is that connection to make the person himself who is making it up feel that they are now even helping in certain acts of worship. Other scholars say that no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you could not, you had the intention, it is, you know, considered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as being done. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Allahu a'lam, we really don't know. So I leave it at that. If you want to do it, you're not going to lose anything. Yes?
Some scholars, they say when you have a baby, in 40 days, you're going to fast.
Okay, now, after childbirth, the maximum of being exempt from praying and fasting, the maximum number of days is 40. But if blood stops earlier than 40 days, you have to have a full ablution and start praying and fasting, even if it is not 40 days.
Like when you have this feeling, it comes on and off.
If it comes, okay, no, if it comes on and off at the same intensity, then it did not stop. It is still there. But if it just cuts, let's say for 10 days, then one sees just marks, really, it is istihada. It is not the real thing. Then you do wudu for every salat and you clean yourself that way.
If mother is like feeding the child,
If mother is feeding the child and she is told that her milk will suffer because of fasting, then she does not fast. She feeds the baby and she makes them up in days later. Yes?
What's the proper way to do ghusl?
Ghusl, you see, ghusl will be satisfied by having water cover your entire body. That's the requirement is fulfilled. But the way that Rasulullah ﷺ taught us is to start by making the regular wudu, then washing your private parts, then washing the front of your right body, then the back of your right body, then the front of your left body, and then the right of your the back of your left body.
So you just have to make the niyyah before a shower or something like that?
Yeah, you can make, you just feel that this is ghusl and it will entitle you to pray because you started with the regular wudu. Any other question? Yes.
During travel, if you're doing Jama
Yes.
You can do it. So
Okay. Now, what's the duration of your travel wherein you can combine and shorten your prayers? Again, scholars differed. Some said indefinite, some said never, except the days when you are traveling. Once you arrive at your destination, you do not combine, you do not shorten. Others said 3 days other than the days of traveling. Others said 1 week, and others said 15 days other than the days of travel. So you can see that it is a matter of ijtihad. It's a matter of scholars. And you know what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the scholars who are qualified. Not me. I'm not qualified to say, you know what? I'm not qualified. To be qualified, it has to be somebody who knows the Quran inside out, knows nasikh and mansukh, asbab al-tanzil, knows everything about the revelation of the Quran, knows the sunnah and the sahih and the hasan and the da'if, and knows the qiyas, knows the ijma', knows the, all of that, then that person is qualified to give fatwa. And if he gives fatwa that is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you know what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful. Again, I was asked this question last night, a young person like yourself, he said, how would I know? How would I know which one is right, which one is wrong? The answer is, look at this. Had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so willed, He would have revealed a Quran for every little detail. Then there would be no need whatsoever to ask a question. You just go back to the Quranic encyclopedia, and it is an encyclopedia, by the way, but I mean to the Quran that has every little detail about everything, and you'll find it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not tell us how many salawat we should do in the Quran. He left it to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He did not tell us how to pray in the Quran. He did not tell us 2.5% to give zakat. He did not tell us when. He left it to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not tell us about things that keep on developing in our lives. What about donating blood? Does that break our fast? There was no blood donation at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How about is blood transfusion acceptable? There was no blood transfusion at that time. So that is why there is something called qiyas, analogy. The scholars will use analogy. Is there something in the Quran or the Sunnah similar to this? If it is, then they cast that on the present situation, and this is analogy. If there is absolutely nothing similar to it, then there's something called consensus, ijma'. Ijma' means that we find among the early scholars, called tabi'een, early scholars, is there a consensus among them on a certain thing? If there is, then we follow their consensus. If there isn't, then we do ijtihad. And, we have to say, there is no ijtihad about the number of raka'at. Why? Anything which is in the Quran and the Sunnah, there's no ijtihad about it. It's already finished. We cannot change anything in the Quran or the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Any other question? Yes.
طبعا احنا مسلمين كنا مخلدين او مجتهدين.
نعم.
فلما ليش نحكي السؤال اللي تساعد قبل شوي ليش ما يتبع المذهب اللي هو عادة هلا بالتأكيد أنا حنفي أو شوافع أو حنفي أو مالكي فالأسهل الله أعلم إنه يتبع المذهب اللي هو تابع له ويشوف إيش الجواب اللي يتعلق في السؤال حتى لا يكون الأمور عايمة من بين السكولرز
Okay. Now, the question or the comment actually is that isn't it easier to follow what the school of thought that is being followed says about a certain thing without getting confused about checking what this scholar said and what that scholar said and. The reality is that within 150 to 250 years after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the fiqh being the jurisprudence or the Islamic law, the word that scares everybody now, which is Sharia, was interpreted into fiqh. Am I confusing anybody? Because I would like somebody to tell me what is the difference between Sharia and fiqh. Very important. We should all know that. If we leave today having understood the difference between Sharia and fiqh. Obviously, I'm going to look at Brother Muhammad. Okay.
Sharia is something like it was sent by Allah. Quran and which was the book like told us. And fiqh means like imams.
Okay. Now, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada is the Sharia of Canada. The Charter has the Sharia. This is how we are defined as Canadians. Now, in Ontario, in Quebec, in Alberta, and they have provincial legislations to interpret what's in the Charter. And the federal government also has laws that are drawn from the Sharia of Canada, which is the Charter. So the laws are the fiqh. This is how we understand the Sharia. So the Quran and the Sunnah is our Sharia. Now, how we interpret this Sharia is the fiqh. So there is al-fiqh al-maliki, al-fiqh al-hanafi, al-fiqh al-shafi'i, al-fiqh al-hanbali. You know, that there is fiqh that Imam Abu Hanifa made for us, that there's fiqh of Imam Shafi'i. So there are different schools. So within 250 years, the Sharia was really established according to those scholars who understood according to what they knew. The reality today, reality that we cannot escape, is that if you ask any one of the new generation, what fiqh your parents follow, they say, what's that? I don't know. The reality is, the majority of the new generation do not know what fiqh they follow. And this actually could be, Allahu A'lam, a blessing in disguise. Because in the past, we know, and we can go back to the books of history, that a Hanafi would not pray behind a Shafi'i Imam. And a Maliki would not pray behind a Hanafi in certain periods of Islamic history. Unlike when Imam Shafi'i went to Kufa and prayed at the masjid of Imam Abu Hanifa, he did not do qunut at Fajr time. And when asked, why aren't you doing qunut when it is part of your fiqh that you should do qunut in Fajr? He said, I'm praying at the masjid of my brother Abu Hanifa Nu'man out of respect. You know? So in those days, they were able to maneuver the differences of the different schools of thought. And they were able to be very clear. They were scholars of those schools of thought. They were scholars. Today, the scholars in any one school of thought are the scholars that we see on television. Very few people know the details of their madhab. And because of this, our children are encouraged, and some, of the scholars, Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim, they say, no, you have to stick to the madhab that you follow. You can't really go, you can. Some scholars, more contemporary scholars, said you may choose because of the hadith reported by Ibn Abbas, ما خير رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بين أمرين إلا اختار أيسرهما ما لم يكن حراما. Okay, that Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, whenever given the choice, obviously he was Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, he was not us. Whenever he would be given a choice, he would choose that which is easier to follow, the easiest choice. But we are not Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. We follow even the scholars of the scholars of the scholars of the scholars. We just are followers. We are followers. We cannot. Well, I think that many people think, unfortunately, we have so many thinkers. When it comes to practices of Islam, I think, no, don't think, please. Please don't think. You know, and I'm not saying don't think, stop thinking that you should become, you know, a robot. No, no. But you should not bypass your limits. You know, I should know that whenever I'm asked heavy, fiqhi questions, like, you know, my daughter sitting there, you know, said, do angels fast? I don't know the answer. There are many who would have volunteered. Yeah, I think they do. Please don't think. What if they don't? There's nothing wrong in saying, I don't know. من قال لا أعرف فقد أفتى. Whosoever says, I don't know, it would be similar to giving a fatwa. I don't know. You know, Imam Malik, okay, they used to say, okay, لا مفتي ومالك في المدينة, that no one should dare to give a fatwa as long as Malik is in Medina, because he is the mufti. Nobody can dare to. He was given 80 fatwas to give. 80 fatwas to give. He only answered 7 or 8 of them. And the rest he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know. Allahu Akbar. Those days. He said, I don't know. And he was so close to the time of Rasulullah ﷺ. Today we find that people take it so lightly. So lightly. We shouldn't. So I say, because of the circumstances, I would encourage, you know, young Muslims not to go to the online mufti. Please don't go to the online mufti. Because many people, they don't even know what site they are going. By the way, there are sites that are there to cause so much destruction in Islamic teachings. And you think that they are Islamic. But they are not. They are run by non-Muslims who don't know enough about Islam, but they know that which will allow them to destroy Islamic teachings. Beware. Don't just sit in front of your computer and say, oh, I need a fatwa. Okay, there is a site called fatwa.com. Fatwa.com. Be careful. Even, you know, this is an authentic one. Fatwa.com. But not everyone can maneuver this information. You can't. You really need, like someone taking a course in medieval, philosophical, humanitarian, logical thinking. The title itself is scary. And just does not go to lectures, just buys the books, and then goes to the final exam. How would that person do? You need a tutor. You need someone to help you. So I say to the young people, Alhamdulillah, so far you have tutors in this community. At least, if I am not a mufti, I can take you by the hand and I will know how to maneuver the different fatwas and I will give you what the answer should be. At least, alhamdulillah, we have that. So let us do that. Any other comment, or we still have 5 minutes? Yes? No, you are guilty today. You are not allowed to speak. Shall I let him speak? Okay.
Actually, there are two questions which are interrelated.
Okay.
One is about the translation of that ayah, where it's with instruction about the wudu, and some people they take it as a literal meaning, and they say it's for the Muslim. Even day before yesterday, somebody was just trying to quote me that all these Sunni Muslims are not doing wudu properly and bad for the Quranic. And the second question is about the ghusl, and I was way back, I read it in a book back in Pakistan, that when you are doing ghusl, you come out and wash your feet again, not because of the water going from your body is pure, so you come out and wash your feet separately.
Now, as for the first question, it is the ayah that talks about فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. They said that the waw is waw al-ataf about اغسلوا. Now, wash your faces and your arms, then wipe your heads, and it doesn't say wash your feet. It says wa arjulakum. Some people said no, it came after ru'usikum, that you wipe wa, and so you wipe your feet. So this is where the difference is. Now, by the way, this part of the ayah had 36 mas'ala, 36 interpretations. It is used as an example of the Quran where scholars are able to find interpretations that they could give as valid interpretation of just one ayah. And that is why we say that the scholars who say, by the way, the majority, for example, an Imam al-Tabari, one of the great mufassirin of the Quran, he said masah, Imam al-Tabari. Now, but the majority said no, it is washing. Why? Because it is the order that is important, but because the order of the feet is after wiping of the head, it had to be delayed till after wiping the head, but it is meant to be washed. Had it been placed after the arms, then we would have washed our feet before wiping our hair. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted the order to be face, arms, head, then feet. So He put them in that order, and we know in the Quran, linguistically, it happens many places where words are delayed, and they take that grammatical, diacritical mark that is in line with the meaning, but it is delayed or brought forward for whatever reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended. So it is to be washed. The majority said washing. Now, if some follow what At-Tabari said, and they wipe, and they follow it with sincerity, we cannot, as the statement that is being made, that these people, their salah will not be accepted, or has never been accepted, they wasted all their life. We can't say that. We cannot say that. This is the etiquette of what Allah... Now, had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I said, which He would have made it with another ayah to explain. But He left it as is. And He left 36 different interpretations of this ayah among qualified scholars. He let that happen. Now, as for washing, the feet separately afterwards, I've never heard of it, and I can assure you that this is not... I have to say with respect, not by, intending any, I've seen people from the Indo-Pakistani subcontinent insist on folding their trousers before they pray. If they don't do that, then the prayer is not accepted. And there are different interpretations for that, your kuftan should be above your ankles, and it should, if it is long, then it can collect dirt from the street and that, all different things. So for whatever reason, they have to fold it. And I say, this is not something that we find support for in any of the, it is a tradition. Now, if I find some brother from Pakistan or India do it, am I going to say, no, you're doing it? No, okay. But if the brother sees me not doing it, again, he should not say, why? Again, we go back to this. We go back to this. We have something that runs in our Islamic genes. Wallahi, when we can claim anything we want. We can say, look at this. Remember what I mentioned in the hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, again, that long hadith in the khutbah, when Rasul, أَلَا أَدُلُّكَ عَلَى رَأْسِ الْأَمْرِ وَعَمُودِهِ وَسِنَامِهِ. Shall I tell you about the highest thing in Islam? رَأْسُ الْأَمْرِ إِفْشَاءُ السَّلَامِ. That the most important thing is to spread peace through our greeting and through our behavior. Peace. Peace. Not yelling at each other. We get angry very quickly. Very quickly. Yes.
If you're traveling and you make the niyyah for Jama' wa Qasr, and then your schedule change, you arrive home before Qasr is over. So is Dhuhr done as a qada or Jama'?
Okay. Now, if you make the intention for traveling, and then you are allowed, according to what you are following, to combine and shorten, and then you prayed, as I understood, Zuhr and Asr while traveling.
No, you made the niyyah to do that, but you got home before Asr is over. Now you want to do them together.
Okay.
Do you do it as a qada, Dhuhr, or Jama'?
No, but you said before Asr you arrived home.
Sorry, no. You arrive before Asr time is over. But
okay.
Dhuhr is already
So you made niyyah to delay Zuhr till Asr.
Right.
Okay. So now, when you arrive, you do Jama' but not Qasr.
Right.
You combine, but you don't shorten.
Even though your Zuhr is when you were traveling.
Yes. Qasr is a characteristic of the place. And combining is a characteristic of the time. Is it clear? So, combining is time, shortening is place. Yes?
For sure. So
Yeah.
how we can achieve?
Okay. Now, how do we achieve concentration in Salat? Without being judgmental, and without saying that the answer is rude, but I am just sharing what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught us, that if there is a blockage between us and khushu', we've got to search for a dhanb, a sin, something we are doing that we are unable to shake, that is standing between us and khushu'. And this is something that is only known to us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the difficulty is that as individuals, because sometimes we continue to do something so often, we forget about its nature. We really need to sit with ourselves and to try to search and to try. Maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that, and on top of this, dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us in our quest to attain khushu'. Again, this is what we heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now there are some practical tips that you do not pray while you are in need to go to the washroom. You do not pray in the same spot all the time. You do not pray while there are people around you talking. You do not pray while you are feeling unclean. You do not pray while you are doubting your wudu. You know, they say that if you are in line and you doubt your wudu, but you did not hear or feel anything, and you are in line, so you remember what Rasulullah ﷺ taught us, that if you did not hear or see, then you did not break your wudu, keep going. So it's Alhamdulillah. Because the feeling inside you is very important. Because if you start saying, did I break it? Did I break it? You lost your khushu'. Remember what Rasulullah ﷺ said. If you did not hear or see, you did not break it, keep going. And then you keep your concentration. And again, you know, concentration comes as you search for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes everything in your life, it becomes you know, something that falls into place. And I want to say something that when you speak everything to your heart, the Fatiha usually is 3 parts. And if every time you remember that, the heart of the Fatiha is Ihdina as-Sirat al-Mustaqim. The Fatiha, in order for you to have khushu' in the Fatiha, you are always, you repeat it 17 times at least every day. You are saying, Ya Allah, guide me on the straight path. Ya Allah, I need your guidance. It's guide me on the straight path. The path that's taking you to Jannah. Ya Allah, I am driving and I am now going right. Ya Allah, guide me on the straight path. So before I say it, I have to introduce my request by saying, all praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. You are Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. You are Malik Yawmiddin. Okay. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Malik Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. I have a request. I need some help because we worship none other than you. And we seek this help from you. So what do you want, my servant? Ihdina as-Sirat al-Mustaqim. So I said, all I said, because of who you are, Ya Allah, guide us on the straight path. That's what I want from you. Okay, what path do you want? صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. So think of it as a request.
Pay attention to the meanings.
Yes. So these are practical things. Then in the short surah, don't always say قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ أَعْطَانِي الْكَوْثَرَ. Okay, because it becomes routine. Now, if you don't know any but those, in the beginning it's okay. Try to expand your pool of the Quran and select from it that which fits your frame of mind. And it becomes a munajat, it becomes a kind of dialogue or a monologue. You know, you don't hear the answer, but it is coming at you. Okay? So just to choose, you know, imagine تتجافى جنوبهم عن المضاجع يدعون ربهم خوفا وطمعا ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. You start to feel it after you made your request. And then, you know, when you keep on some don't lift their hands. But anyway, this, by the way, is like lifting that veil, you know, as if before Salat you had a veil, and we all have a veil. You attempt to say, now I'm going to stand without a veil between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He's watching me. I cannot see Him, but He's watching me. So I said, Allah, Allahu Akbar. And I stood like this, and I know for a fact Allah is watching me. He's looking at me. And then I go down, and I know that Allah has answered my request to guide me on the straight path. So I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. I'm thanking Him. Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. Subhana Rabbi al-Azim. And then remember, it was introduced to Salat after Abu Bakr said Alhamdulillah. You know, remember the story when he came late? Okay, We are late actually, we have to pray, but I will mention this story later on. So he said, Alhamdulillah, it became part of Salah. Sami Allahu liman hamida. Allah did hear my praise. Rabbana wa lakal hamd. Okay, Rabbana. Look at this. Can somebody tell me why do we say Rabbana wa lakal hamd? Why don't we say Rabbana lakal hamd? Did we understand the Rabbana wa lakal hamd?
Praise Allah. Allah listen.
But you see, in Arabic, it sounds a little bit off. Okay, why Rabbana wa lakal hamd? Because look at this. You did not finish your salat as if you are saying, Rabbana, I'm coming back, I have more requests. I'm going to say, Rabbana, okay, wa lakal hamd for answering my call, and then I go and draw. So it is actually two sentences that are merged with waw al-atf. So it is Rabbana, Ya Allah, I still have more to ask. Wa lakal hamd, I thank you for that which you gave me already. And I'm going down now to thank you even more before I will go and request one more time to ask you to guide me on the straight path. And I'm going to read short surah that is going to reflect my state of mind. So it continues to put it that way. So if you will take your time again, don't be in a rush. You have to say everything can wait. Everything can wait. So if you give your time, and that's what Ramadan helps with. Pray with time. Pray with, inshallah. And again, let us search for that which, they say, nukta sawda fil qalb. Nukta sawda, which means that even if there is a little bit of something black in the heart, it can block the way we concentrate in our salah. That's why, again, which is glad tidings for those who are searching, as long as there is a continuous quest for khushu', you are trying. You never attain 100%. You attain 10%. But you were searching all your life. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the full reward, because two great Sahabis, one of them could not concentrate 100% in Salat, and one could not memorize the Quran. He couldn't concentrate on memorization of Quran. Who are they? The one who could not concentrate on his Salat 100% was? Brother Muhammad, I'm looking at you. Oh. Who was that Sahabi who could not 100% and he complained to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Umar ibn al-Khattab. He could not. But he tried. So if we, again, but he kept, now look, if Umar ibn al-Khattab could not concentrate, who am I? No, don't ever have that speech, never. And the person who could not memorize the Quran, who was he? Who was he, Muhammad? Who was he? Muaz, you should know. Don't look at your dad. Who was he? He couldn't. He didn't have the ability. He couldn't. Bilal ibn Rabah, Mu'adhin al-Rasul. He could not. He didn't have that ability to concentrate and memorize. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. I just want to make one announcement for those who did not hear my announcement. I don't know if Sister Sabah is sitting here, but she emailed me, may Allah reward her tremendously. She drew my attention to a serious typo in my book, Fasting in Islam, on page 92. At the bottom, okay, we have to erase the word not, because for without doubt, hearts do, as it is now, for without doubt, hearts do not find satisfaction in the remembrance of Allah. We have to remove not. So I asked for some volunteers to come before the khutbah, I think, early, so that we can, but I didn't have, Brother Amjad wanted to help, but, maybe we can get the box that we have, and it's on page 92, we need to block that. And I want to remind you, I started to ask Brother Abdul Salam, but now Brother Adil, may Allah reward you tremendously. He is helping in putting all of these on. By the way, the lecture of last week, it's already on YouTube, and he told me from last week till today, there are more than 600 hits, alhamdulillah. And if you alert your friends to go and visit it, and visit this one as well, you can review it and let others watch it. And he is uploading all the khutbahs, Friday khutbahs, but so far I have DVDs and CDs of some selected topics. They are available outside, and I'm going to ask Brother Amjad to look after. They are $7 each of the CDs and DVDs, and those books are available for $10 as well. You are encouraged to please buy them and distribute them, give them as gifts, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Who is going to make azan?